Now, huge crowds were traveling with Jesus. Not everyone who travels with Jesus is a disciple. Not everyone who follows Jesus is a disciple. 7 chapters later, after hearing today's gospel, many of the people who were traveling with Jesus would shout, "Crucify him, crucify him." Even the disciples themselves abandoned Jesus. Many who were traveling with Jesus were not his disciples. Many of them were fans, but not disciples. Why were they after Jesus? Maybe because they saw him as a miraculous worker. He healed many people. He was close to the poor. He welcomed everyone, and people felt at home with himself, so people were traveling with him. But Jesus was conscious that these people are not aware of the cost of the discipleship. They were not aware how much price they have to pay if they were to become a true disciple of Jesus. So he turns, as he was walking with these people, he turns around and addresses them. And he places 3 demands. First, you must hate your family. The word literally does not mean to hate our family members. What Jesus asks of us is to give preference to him, to give priority to Jesus over our family members. He's not asking us to hate our father, mother, brothers, and sisters, but to give him priority, to love him above everything. Second, he asks us to carry the cross. The image or the symbol of cross is a beautiful one for today, but for a first century Jew, it was a capital punishment. It was a shameful death. So if a master asks a person to carry a cross to become his disciples, that would easily put them off the people, because that was a challenging thing. And lastly, he asks to give up all possessions. Remember when the rich young man ran towards Jesus and asked him, "I want to be a disciple," and Jesus tells him, "You sell everything and give it to the poor." And this young man was disheartened, went sorrowfully, because he had great possessions. Call for discipleship. Decision for discipleship must be seriously examined. There are many fans, but a few disciples. Dear friends, we are sometimes among these people who are traveling with Jesus. If we ask ourselves, why are we walking with Jesus? Why are we traveling with Jesus? Perhaps we are fascinated by his personality. We are fascinated by Jesus' words. We are fascinated by Jesus' miraculous power. Then if we make it more concrete and ask ourselves, why do we come to church? Because we are fascinated by the homilies. We are fascinated by the music. We are fascinated by the church. Or we are fascinated by the people whom we meet after the Mass. Are we fans of Jesus or true disciples of Jesus? The call for discipleship must be seriously examined. It is costly. This is not easy. That is why Jesus had to give his life. God the Father has to sacrifice his Son to bring salvation to every one of us here. Call for discipleship is costly. This is precisely why Jesus asked each one of us here to count the cost before we join him on his way to the cross. No man would lay a foundation if he doesn't have enough cash on his hand. A king will not go to war with 10,000 soldiers to another king with another king who has 20,000 soldiers. Are we counting the cost before committing ourselves to travel with Jesus? And Jesus wants to pause for us. He wants to pause and ask each one of us, are we fans of Jesus? Or are we really disciples of Jesus? There's a clear distinction lies between a fan versus a disciple, a traveler versus a follower. Whoever does not take up the cross cannot be my disciple. Anyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will not enter the kingdom of God unless he does the will of my Father in heaven. When we walk without the cross, when we build without the cross, when we proclaim Christ without the cross, we cannot be disciples, we are worldly, said beautifully Pope Francis. Dear friends, are we counting the cost? Are we ready to become a disciple of Jesus? Or are we simply traveling with him like the large crowds who were traveling with Jesus? We already have started the journey. There's no point in turning back from the plow, but only a prayer for courage and faithfulness that exceeds all our human powers. Dear friends, to be a fan of Jesus is very easy, but to be a disciple means to carry his cross and follow him through the cross and to experience his love and mercy and share that with one another.